Welcome back to Folk Friday. It is our season finale, and I really wanted to go out on a bang. And what better way to do that than to talk about one of Duluth's most prominent black citizens, inventor Alexander Miles. So strap in, grab a snack, and we're going to be talking about this fascinating man today. Alexander was born in 1837 in Ohio to free black parents Michael and Mary Miles. He lived his entire childhood in Ohio, but by 1850 he had moved to Wisconsin to begin his career as a barber. By July of 1863, Alexander Miles had relocated to Winona, Minnesota, where he continued his work as a barber. And during this time, he was also creating and selling some of his own hair care products out of his shop. Remember that. That'll be important later. While living in Winona, Alexander Miles met Candace Dunlap, a white woman a couple years older than him with 2 children from a previous marriage, and by 1870, the two were living together as husband and wife in Winona. Now, from what I can tell, Minnesota never outright banned biracial marriages, but I can't imagine that it would have been particularly easy for these two to be living together as husband and wife at this time. However, their marriage would ultimately stand the test of time. In 1871, the couple would leave Winona for Toledo, Ohio, where Miles would continue his work as a barber. While in Toledo, Miles would receive his first patent for a hair care product. This would be a cleansing balm for the hair. But the couple wouldn't stay in Toledo for very long. Miles was looking for a city that would grow along with him, and he placed his bets on Duluth. In the spring of 1875, the family moved up to Duluth, Minnesota. The city was just beginning to recover from a panic economically that had happened a few years earlier, and the city was right on the precipice of an explosion of growth. Alexander began to operate a barbershop on Superior Street, and his wife continued to work as a dressmaker, which she had been doing off and on in the previous years as well. On April 9, 1876, the couple would welcome their first child together, Grace. In 1882, the St. Louis Hotel opened on the corner of 4th Avenue West and Superior Street, and Miles began to lease space on the first floor, and he operated the hotel's bathhouses and their barbershop. Before the grand opening, the Duluth Daily Tribune wrote that it was, without exception, the best shop in the entire state of Minnesota, and Miles would see great success from his investment here working in the hotel. Business would continue to boom, and soon he had a second patent for a hair care product. With the success of his business, he was able to have a new house built for his family, and he began to invest in real estate around town. He even built a 3-story office building on Superior Street. Miles had previously found success through his work with patents in earlier years, and soon he began to work on a new patent, one that would help develop safety features in elevators. In 1887, he applied for his elevator door safety patent, and in his invention there were 2 separate ways, 2 distinct features that would help improve safety in elevators, both involving automatic closures for the door when the machine was in operation. It's unclear if he ever sold these patents, but you can still see the influence of his first original designs in safety features we see in modern elevators today. Alexander wasn't just a successful barber and inventor, he was also heavily prominent within the community in town as well. He served as the first black member of the Duluth Chamber of Commerce. He was the president of the Colored Republicans Club of Duluth. He was the first chairman the first time Duluth celebrated Lincoln's birthday on February 12, 1896, and he also led a meeting to discuss forming a permanent organization to advocate for black citizens living in St. Louis County. So during this time, Alexander began to talk to another Duluthian, Mason H. Seeley, and the two began to talk about the possibility of starting an insurance company specifically to help serve members of the black community who at this time were often denied coverage. So they're talking about this, and they decide to go for it. So Alexander sells off some of his property in town, and he and his friend, along with their families, moved to Chicago to help make this a reality. Together, with the help of some other community organizers and legislatures, they are able to found the United Brotherhood in Chicago. They would become one of the first organizations to sell competitive rates of life insurance to black Americans. After their work in Chicago, the economy takes a little bit of a hit, and Alexander is forced to sell off some of his properties to help pay the bills. And at this time, he and his wife move out to Seattle, Washington, and he continues his work as a barber there. In 1905, Candace suffered a heart attack and sadly passed away, and the economy continued to decline, and soon Miles was forced to sell off the rest of his assets, and now he was left without his fortune or his wife. In 1907, a reporter from the Seattle Daily Times had heard that Miles was once believed to be the wealthiest black man living in the Midwest and then later the Pacific Northwest, and that he had recently lost his fortune, so he knew he had to hunt him down to get an interview with him. In the interview, Miles recounted how he had begun work as a barber and through success had slowly been able to invest in real estate and property around Duluth and the region. But when the bubble burst, he was slowly forced to sell it all off until now basically he was back to where he had started. Though he did say the loss of his fortune was not the largest loss in his life, but that of the death of his wife Candace just a few years earlier. He continued working as a barber on the West Coast for the rest of his life until in 1918, his health began to decline rapidly. Family and friends took care of him for a brief time, but he would ultimately pass away on May 7th of 1918. Alexander spent over 20 years of his life living in Duluth, and those years were perhaps some of the happiest of his life. In 2007, he was inducted to the National Inventors Hall of Fame, and today he is remembered not only as an inventor, but as a man who pushed boundaries, someone who used his wealth and influence to advocate for the lives of people in his community, not only in our region, but across the nation as well. Duluth is truly blessed that such an amazing man decided to call our city home for such a wonderful time in his life. If you're interested in learning more, I recommend you read the article written by David Ouse, which was a great source for me, and I got a lot of my information from that. So go check that out for the full story. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.